Hello and welcome to Bring the Ring, a new way to handbell. My name is Brenda Austin, and it is my sincere hope that through connecting with us today, you will be inspired to use handbells to make a difference, to add value to our world. Let's get out there and bring the ring.
Hello and welcome to Bring the Ring. My name is Brenda Austin and I am the handbell editor for Hope Publishing. And we are looking to connect with others, to talk to some composers, reach out, see what we can learn from each other and how we can help one another. No more than ever, we need to stick together during this time as we're figuring out how to make music again. And today we are talking to Jason Krug. Jason is from Indianapolis and has composed and published all kinds of handbell music, instrumental works, and you name it. He has really, I think, led the charge for pivoting during COVID. He has begun leading a weekly stream and he talks about composing and arranging on that stream with folks. And he's continued to just crank out pieces for many publishers, and he's even started his own self-publishing business. So, Jason, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome to talk to you as always. And I have just been so impressed with you throughout this pandemic. I mean, not only have you been my buddy and saying, "Hey, how you doing?" and helping each other along, but really, you have reached out to the whole handbell community in general with your stream and helping other people, but that also helps you. It's really been inspiring. So, talk to me a little bit about your pivot that you have done during this pandemic.
Back at the start of the pandemic, I had on occasion I had streamed on twitch.tv doing, video game playing or whatever. And I had this crazy idea. I thought, why don't I just stream myself composing? Nobody cares. Nobody's going to want to sit there and watch somebody sitting here staring at Finale, playing a keyboard and putting notes down. But I'm going to do it anyway. So got on Facebook, put out the word and said, okay, hey, I'm going to do this. If you want to come, go ahead. And that was actually a week from this Thursday. So March 18th is the 1 year anniversary of my first stream on Twitch doing bell music. And right now I'm back. I was doing it 3 times a week at the start of the pandemic. It's back down to once a week on Wednesdays. And I have a core group of somewhere between 15 and 20 folks who show up like clockwork every Wednesday. We get new people all the time. Originally, it was just me composing, working on whatever piece I needed to be working on. Um, I spent some time looking at some of my old pieces. In May and June, I did a weekly countdown of my favorite pieces of mine that I've written. And then I introduced about every 6 or 8 weeks, folks will send me pieces they are working on, and we'll play them on stream and we'll look at them and kind of give some comments and critiques. Just trying to help people get a little bit more into composing, arranging, not even just for bells. Some folks are, writing for piano. Some folks are, it runs the gamut, but it has just been, it really started off as a way to connect with people. As soon as this lockdown happened, suddenly we can't go anywhere. We can't do our festivals. We can't do workshops. And so it was, how can I keep connected to the rest of the handbell community when we really can't be otherwise? And it's just I'm amazed and humbled that it is still going on here a year later.
Yeah. Yeah, and you looked at a piece or two of mine, and
Mhm.
it just it's so great to have somebody to look at it right there and get live feedback, and of course everybody's commenting in the chat as well. It's so hard to get feedback, and so to get that right now, I love it, and I think it's a great thing that you're doing for folks. Every time I
Thank
come
you.
on, I always enjoy it. It's lots of fun.
Yeah, we're probably a little sillier than we ought to be, but we all have a good time. So
Yes, indeed, indeed. So you have been writing like 12 bell, 12 bell, 12 bell, right? Lots of 12 bell.
Lots of 12 bell with the occasional break to write some 8 bell before going back to 12 bell. Also been doing a fair number of solos. Occasionally a 3 to 5 octave piece just because there are still groups that are trying to put together the larger ensembles. So, but yeah, focusing on mainly 8 and 12 bell because at least, I mean, for the past year and probably for the next couple of months, that's still what they're really in need of.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's great that the composers and the publishers have responded to that need and are cranking it out. And I think ensemble music is here to stay. At least that's
Yeah.
what we've been talking about at Hope Publishing.
Mhm.
That we're going to find that it adds to our programs, that it doesn't have to be one or the other, that even when we're back to ringing side by side with 5 octaves, that we still having a small ensemble or a bell tree will be a great addition to our programs.
It's always felt to me because I've written 12 bell music for years now, and it wasn't until this last year that it really gained in popularity. It always felt to me that people would look at 12 bell music as, oh, I need to find something to occupy this little group, or it's kind of this little niche sort of thing. And this past year has really shown, no, this can be a viable option as, to keep an entire music ministry, not just a handbell program, but an entire music ministry going. So
Mhm.
yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't think it will ever completely replace, full ensemble, 3 to 5, 3 to 6 octave, but I think it's going to be much more mainstream than it has been.
I agree. And it's also a great entry point that you don't have to have 11 ringers and 3 octaves of bells in order to start a bell choir. You can have 4 ringers and
Mhm.
1 octave of bells and still make some music. So I think it's a great entry point as well. So this last one that you worked on for us is actually just slightly different. It's like, trying to add just a little different to it. So talk to us a little bit about the newest version of Small But Mighty.
Um, so as I've been working on all this 12 bell music and as, all these groups have been playing and, as you said, it seems like all the publishers have been putting out more and more 12 bell music. Um, at the back in late March or April, actually on my stream that we were talking about, I thought, I'm going to write a 12 bell piece of music and I'm just going to give it to everybody who's here on the stream. And I thought, what haven't I done in 12 bell? And so I thought, ooh, how about an original titles? Because it seems like all 12 bell music up till now has been arrangement of this hymn or that hymn. So I thought, well, we do original tunes with full choirs. Why not 12 bell? So I, did an original tune, and that seemed to work really well. And I've done several more since. And so for this set, I thought, okay, what can we do with 12 bell that we do with full ensembles, but we haven't done yet? And it seems like, in any release from Hope, there's always 3 or 4 or 5 pieces that are bells plus something else. And a lot of composers have done 12 bell with piano. I thought, what if we do 12 bell with percussion? There's always that piece that has, optional hand drum, optional tambourine, whatever. So I thought, what if we did a set of 12 bell arrangements and added in some optional percussion? And so that's what this set is. It's, I think, 8 or 9 tunes. Um, and each piece uses different percussion. There's a couple that use tambourine, a couple that use hand drum, some that use triangle, one that has triangle or finger cymbals, and just a way to, as we were talking, kind of help make 12 bell and smaller ensemble music more mainstream by, including those optional instruments, giving options to enhance the performance of it.
Hmm. Yeah. And it get one more person an opportunity to play. how do you think we can best use these 12 belt pieces?
If nothing else, the past year has shown us that I'm not sure there is a best use, but there are an awful lot of really good uses. I mean, traditional performance with, three, four, five, or six ringers. Um, and especially here with the pandemic, we've learned you can do it at the table, you're at your own separate tables. For these, you don't even need tables. You can just set up music stands and separate. Um, and so, performing like that, either live if your church is doing, either live streaming or actual in-person worship, or pre-recording. And again, with the percussion, as you said, it's just an extra person. So you stick them, another 6 feet farther away than your last ringer, and pre-record it, play it live. We can even do what it seemed like folks were doing very early on with apps like Acapella, where they would record themselves playing each of the individual parts and layer it in. And you would do the same thing with the percussion, just layer that in on top of it. So, that's really what I think has come out of this pandemic is I feel like it's increased our creativity in how we present our music to our audiences and congregations.
We've had to do things differently, and you know what? It all worked out just fine. And these, I would say, they're all optional percussion. So if you don't have
Yes.
that instrument or you don't have that extra person, they're optional, but
Mhm.
they do add really a nice flavor to it. We have one of them here that we can listen to. This one is from the set, and this will be volume 4 of Small But Mighty. And this is volume 4 with percussion. This is Oh for a Thousand Tongues to Sing. Yay, wonderful.
Thank you. That was a treat for me. I haven't heard that before, so
Well, of course, you wrote it a few months ago too. So, and you've written one or two pieces since then.
just one or two. Yeah.
Well, great. It came together easily, nicely. It rang well. I rang it with a few members of the Detroit Handbell Ensemble, and then of course with my kids to record it, and it came together nicely. So I think it'll be just an excellent collection. So, and there are 8 different titles, all general, and I hope folks will enjoy it.
I do as well. Thank you.
So, what advice do you have for ringers and directors as we move forward? Because, things are starting to open up and more vaccines. And what advice do you have for us?
Um, When this all started, I feel like it sort of caught us all kind of flat-footed, where we were going along and we had our plans. We had our plans for Lent and Holy Week and Easter and the rest of our spring music. And all of a sudden it came out of the blue, and we were scrambling to try to recover from that. Well, we can kind of see now what's coming in the weeks and the months ahead, but we're starting to get to the place where planning ahead for possibly even fall ringing. I've heard a lot of folks saying that by Christmas that, we could be back to almost like what was normal before this happened. So also looking ahead at, what do I want my bell program to look like in 6 months, 9 months, and planning ahead for that. That means looking at what music you want to do, um, going to all of your ringers and people who have rung and start trying to line up your ensembles, because we've reduced the number of people we've had ringing, and sometimes that means some people are just not participating. A lot of churches have said, well, I had 11 ringers, so now I've got a group of 6 and a group of 4, and I've got 2 groups going, and figuring out how to recombine them. But it's this awkward phase of making sure we're still going with kind of how we have been for the past 8-10 months, while also planning this transition that we're not quite sure when exactly it's going to happen, but we can see it on the horizon, and getting ready for what our new normal is going to look like here in a few months.
Yes, I am so excited to be able to get going. I just don't know when get going happens just yet. But that's been, I think, the hardest part for all of this, is just figuring it out. But I'm so proud of the folks that have figured out how to make music, and maybe it's not like we've always done it, but it still has been very meaningful and has provided a great service to churches and communities, that we've been able to still contribute something. And maybe it's had to be pre-recorded, or maybe it's a small ensemble or whatever, but we're still making music. So I think we're going to come through this all bigger and better than before. And I'm ready. I'm ready to get back with my peeps and regularly be making music.
Well, and if nothing else, I think all of this has done a huge service to handbells in general, making them seem even more mainstream, because we had this time where suddenly choirs just can't sing, and you can't have your brass quintet at Easter. And what everybody, it seems like most churches I have talked to have turned to are handbells,
Mhm.
and more handbells than usual, because they can play, they can provide this vital service to our congregations. And I think that has done a huge service to the handbell world in general, to kind of prop up our programs and say, yeah, this is an ensemble that we need to have in our churches.
Absolutely. And I'm excited to see these things happening. So, Jason, awesome to chat with
You
you. I
too.
love your music. I love working with you. And thank you for all that you have been doing to encourage the rest of us and keep us going and keep us learning and growing. So thank you for all of that.
My pleasure.
All right. See ya.
See ya.
Thanks for joining us today. Brenda Austin is the handbell editor for Hope Publishing, where we are equipping musicians for excellence. Visit hopepublishing.com or call 1-800-323-1049 for all your music needs. For questions about this episode of Bring the Ring, contact Brenda at brenda@hopepublishing.com. Our show notes can be found on our Facebook page or in the comments below.